Open this door, Oloma, right now. I give you 3 AK market days to leave this compound or you'll hear from me.
Nah, Ikenga, I have told you, I'm not interested in what you asked me to do. And that decision still stands and has never changed since you last visited.
Bia Oloma, may the God strike your mouth.
And you too, Nani, Uloma whispered.
Did you say something?
No, Nanyo. Once upon a time, there lived a young woman named Uloma. She lost her parents and has been living alone ever since. Her uncles have been pressurizing her to get married and leave so they can have access to all her father's properties. Olo, as she was fondly called, has always kept to herself. She doesn't like people visiting her or coming close to her house. Any suitor her uncle brings, she waits patiently in her house with a weapon to drive them away as fast as they approach her. She has a shop in the village market where she sells firewood. Every morning, on her way to the market, she goes to her parents' grave and asks them for protection as she embarks on her daily activities. One morning, her uncle Ikenga came banging on her door. Ulaku, open this door. I give you 3 AK market days to find a man. Get married and leave this compound. Nna Ikenga, I have told you that I'm not interested in what you asked me to do. And that decision still stands and has never changed since you last visited. Biaolo, may the God strike that your mouth you're using to challenge me. What is wrong with you? All your mates are in their husband's house with 3 or 4 kids, but here you are, challenging me. 3 weeks or prepare to be thrown out of this house. Stupid girl. A man's property goes to his son when he dies, not a female child. You have been warned. Olo thought about what to do, the deep secret that made her vow not to let any man come close to her, talk more of getting married. At her shop, she was lost in thought when her regular customer, Uche, came to buy firewood. He asked her what was wrong with her. She explained to him that her uncle wanted to take over her father's house and lands by marrying her off to some stranger, but she does not want to get married. Uche was surprised to hear her say such a thing. He asked her what prompted her to make such a decision. She said it was personal and she couldn't share her reasons with him. Uche suggested if she had given birth to a male child, he could inherit her father's properties and her uncles won't have to bother her anymore. Olo thought about Uche's suggestions. She wasn't comfortable with them. She didn't know how she could get pregnant when she couldn't allow anyone to get close to her or come into her house. What if they discover her secret in the process? She thought. She decided to fight off any man who came close to her. She'd rather commit suicide than allow anyone to discover her secret. After a few days, her uncle, Ikenga, sent words to her that he will send 2 potential suitors to her. If she decides to chase them away as usual, she should get ready to live in her shop or in the forest. The next morning, Ulo boiled water with fresh pepper in it. She sat down waiting for the suitors to get close to her house. She heard their footsteps approaching her hut. She screamed, I have a bucket of hot water with fresh pepper in it. If you love yourself, don't come any closer, or I will bathe you with it. As the men approached closer and saw her with a bucket of hot water, they dashed off. Olo, feeling accomplished and satisfied with herself, she went inside, laid down on her mat, and slept off. Uche came to the shop, but he didn't see her, and it was unusual for her not to open her shop. He decided to ask around for directions to her house and visit her. When he got there, her house was open. He stepped in, but the foul smell couldn't let him in. He held his breath and entered. Olo was surprised to see him and asked him to leave. He, she started crying and pleading with him not to tell anyone her secret. He was forced to ask Olo why her hut smelled so bad. She told him she bed wets. She had tried everything within her power to stop it, but she couldn't. Uche asked her if that was the reason she refused to get married or allow anyone to come close to her. Olo replied yes. He promised her that her secrets were safe with him and she had nothing to be afraid of. After that day, Uche visited Ulo more often, both at home and in her shop. She was happy she finally found someone comfortable with her the way she was. She started taking more care of herself and cleaning her hut more often to reduce the awful smell from her incessant bed wetting. One evening, as Uche walked Ulo home, Ulo offered him a meal. He felt the urge to get close to her that night after the meal. As he moved closer to her, Ulo shivered in joy and fear. She told him he had never met any man in her life, which he promised her she wouldn't regret it, as he had fallen deeply in love with her. He promised also to be gentle with her. Ulo agreed, and they both had a splendid night, enjoying each other's company. Since then, they have been closer, and he also spent most nights in her hut. As days passed, Ulo's love for Uche increased more. One morning, her uncle came as usual with his marriage threats. Ulo boldly replied her uncle that she has found someone who loved and cherished her, and she can't wait to leave. Her uncle was happy that he'd finally have access to their house and land, but Ulo didn't care about her parents' properties any longer. She had found love and happiness without keeping her secrets from Uche. Ulo went about her normal business, happier than ever. People who knew her noticed she has changed and became more cheerful and less grumpy. That day, Uche didn't visit as usual. Ulo was a bit worried, as Uche never spends a day without coming to her shop. Days turned into weeks with no sign of Uche. Ulo was getting worried sick about it. She also noticed her body changing. She was usually sick and sleepy during the day. She knew something was wrong with her. She quickly ran to the village midwife, who, without conducting a test, told her she was pregnant. Ola was happy, as she always wanted to have a child that would take over her parents' property. But now she was happier she got pregnant with a man she loved, and he loved her too. She was excited to share the good news to Uche, who hadn't visited for some days now. Olo decided to visit him, but when she got there, she didn't meet the happy and lovely Uche she knew. She met an angry, irritated man who walked her to the corner of the house so that no one would see them. She was surprised that Uche was all of a sudden ashamed of her, and she asked him why he avoided her all this while. Uche told her he wasn't feeling well, but he's better now as he didn't want to bother her. Out of excitement, Ulo broke the good news to Uche, who casually replied that he was happy for her. He urged her to go, but promised to visit her the next day. Ulo went home with mixed feelings about Uche's behavior towards her, but she didn't want to let it compromise her joy of becoming a mother. The next day, as Ulo joyfully carried her firewood to the market, on her way, she met a group of villagers gossiping and covering their nose as she passed. She tried to ignore them, but not until she saw Uche's friend calling her old woman the bedwets. Ulo was ashamed and angry that the person she trusted her secret with could betray her. She couldn't bear the shame and embarrassment. She turned and started heading home. On her way, she saw Uche with some villagers. He shouted, "Look at that dirty old woman that bedwets. She thinks I want anything from her. I made a bet with my friends that I will sleep with you and find out why you always keep to yourself," Uche yelled. Ulo couldn't believe what she heard. She dropped her firewood and ran to her hut. She cried for days without coming out. She was fed up with life and didn't want to continue living as her secret was out. She braced herself for the sake of her unborn child. She decided not to give in to the gossip about her. As days passed, the rumors and name calling reduced. She thought about consulting the gods to avenge all that wronged her. She decided to let Kama handle Uche for her. Ulo pleaded with her uncle to let her stay in her father's house and raise her child, as she had nowhere to go, and she decided not to have anything to do with any man again in her life. Her uncle agreed on the condition that he would give her just a piece of land out of 5 plots of land her father had. Ulo agreed. Years later, she gave birth to a baby boy, and ever since she worked so hard to raise her son alone. As for Uche, Kama caught up with him. All the women he wanted to marry ended up sleeping with another man, and he never settled with anybody ever since, as people said he slept with a witch that cursed him, and he couldn't perform as a man anymore. He never believed what he did in the past could haunt him for the rest of his life. The moral of this story is that we should tread carefully in life. The people we hurt might haunt us for the rest of our lives. Sharing our secret with people does not guarantee they will keep it as a secret for the rest of their lives. Thank you for watching.